Our next speaker is from Colombia.
Yes, Colombia. You have a secret ingredient?
My secret ingredient is as always smile.
Ooh, great smile.
And I also know your secret ingredient probably.
What? You know my secret ingredient?
Yeah,
Impossible.
your secret ingredient is your eye, I think.
Yeah, how did you know that? That's amazing. Well, let's listen to Palacio, Rojas, Juan Jose's secret ingredient.
Welcome to the stage, Jose, the secret ingredient.
Good morning. My name is Juan Jose Palacio Rojas. I'm from Colombia, a Latin American country. Latin Americans are passionate people known for their emotions. We are passionate about many things, mainly football. But not me. I'm passionate about dancing, like merengue, salsa, bachata, reggaeton. So, how did a passionate Latin American end up in Japan? Growing up, I didn't know anything about Asia until one day, a friend of my parents came back from a business trip in China. I remember him saying that the people in Asia ate with something that we don't have a Spanish word for. He said they ate rice with little sticks. I couldn't believe Chinese people took a couple of branches from a tree and ate rice with that. I actually imagine people eating rice one by one with 3 branches. That was the very first time I hear about Asia, and I haven't heard about chopsticks. A few years later, when I could get satellite TV, I was able to watch anime. For example, Dragon Ball or Shin-chan. As a result, I could hear Japanese language for the very first time in my life. I didn't understand anything, but it was new and different, and it sounds so passionate, so I loved it. After high school, I had a chance to go to the US and study English for 5 months. During that time, I met lots of people from all over the world, and I became good friends with a group of Japanese students from Osaka. They told me a lot of things about Japan. For example, okonomiyaki, takoyaki, sobayaki, udon-yaki, pictures of Osaka, Kobe, and Kyoto. It was totally different from my world. It lit a fire in me, and I fell in love with Japan. While still in the US, instead of studying English, I started to learn Japanese on my own. I learned hiragana and katakana. At the same time, I was making a detailed plan to convince my parents to let me go to Japan. I searched for the cheapest Japanese language school in Osaka. Part-time jobs I could do to support myself. And I showed it to them. At the beginning, they were kind of skeptical, but my passion for Japan convinced them to support me. The first 3 months in Japan, I was feeling the greatest. I was learning Japanese, working for the first time. I had my own room. I could buy whatever I want and do whatever I wanted. I felt my passion for Japan was over the moon. And then, Corona hit. And the Brazilian restaurant I worked for closed. I lost my job. I was running out of money. All my classes were online. And I was alone in my room all day. I was in my room all day. My parents also wanted me to go back to Colombia as soon as possible, before I catch corona and die. At that time, my classmates and I found a job at a phone factory. What a horrible job! The working hours were from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., 3 times a week. The work was painfully boring. The pay was low, and it's a 2-hour one-way bus ride to get to the factory. And worst of all, we were not allowed to talk while working. It was like prison. I felt like a prisoner living in Japan. I had almost no interaction with people. All my classes were online, and I couldn't talk at work for 8 hours. And no one wanted to talk in the 4-hour bus ride to and from work. My passion for Japan was gone. I should be back in Colombia with my family, where they love me, and not sticking phone parts together in the middle of the night trying to survive. I wonder if all the money, time, and effort I put into coming to Japan was meaningless. I felt day by day how my heart, my passion, was getting colder and colder. It almost disappeared. Fortunately, the state of emergency did not last long, and the restaurant reopened, and I was able to work again. I could freely communicate with my co-workers and customers. We even went back to in-person classes, and I could reconnect with my classmates and friends again. The terrible phone factory job experience and the loneliness of going through COVID in a foreign country helped me to really appreciate my life in Japan even more. I realized that passion wasn't enough to keep me strong, but I needed the human touch. I believe human touch is the secret ingredient of my passion. My desire to study came back, and I studied and studied, and one day I could understand what people were saying. I could understand what people at the 7-Eleven and on the trains were saying. I almost cried. I finally felt included. It was like, I can talk to you. We speak the same language. I wasn't a prisoner anymore. I was free. I learned that passion alone isn't strong enough to carry me through hard times. But it was the human touch of my friends, like you, that gave my passion purpose to keep studying, growing, living, and dancing in Japan. Like bachata, salsa, merengue. Thank you, my friends.